Hello everybody. We start with a new chapter in standard 10th chemistry, that is metallurgy. So we'll be referring to Viraf Dalal textbook. Now, first of all, about metallurgy, we need to understand that metallurgy is the science or the process or procedure which you are going to follow for extracting the metals from its ore. Okay, so you got the ores or the minerals which are there in the soil. So wherever there is a ore, you are going to extract that metal from that ore. The process of extracting the metal from this ore is called as metallurgy. So first of all, let's understand about the general things. Introduction. Metals and non-metals can be differentiated on the basis of their atomic structure. The physical differences are dependent on the arrangement of the atoms, the chemical differences on the number of valence electrons and their behavior during the chemical reaction. That is, ability to lose or gain or share electrons. So you can see that the metals and non-metals, they will be differing based on their arrangement of the atoms. So we very well know if it is a metal, then it will be having 1, 2 or 3 electrons in the outermost shell. Whereas if it is more than, if it is non-metal, it will be 4, 5, 6 or 7 electrons in the outermost shell. And accordingly, what will happen is that the physical properties will be dependent on the arrangement of the atoms, and the chemical properties will be dependent on the valence electrons. So depending on the valence electrons, it will be either accepting electron or donating an electron, or it will be sharing the electrons for forming into a compound. So this is how the chemical properties of the substances are going to differ. The modern chemist has discovered ways of extracting metals, improving the quality of metals by alloying or mixing with other metals, and protecting metals by electroplating. See, when we talk about metals, we are talking about elements: iron, copper, zinc. Okay. Now each and every element, they have got their own positive as well as negative. Something which is very strong and hard, then it may be brittle. If something is very soft, then it may lack the tensile strength, or it may be able to, it may not be able to withstand that much of strength. So accordingly, what scientists have done is that they have not only found out means of extracting the metals from the soil, but also to improvise on the quality and the we can say properties of the metal by converting them into alloys. See, alloys is a mixture of 2 or more metals together, so that the properties, because it's a mixture, so the properties of that particular constituent of the alloy is retained, and because it is retained, that's the reason it is going to have the properties of all the compounds which are present, or the constituent of the alloy. So if I got an alloy which has got some amount of copper and it got some amount of iron, so automatically it will be having properties of iron also and properties of copper also. So accordingly, we will be having different kinds of alloys, or the scientists have prepared different kind of alloys depending upon the properties what they require. Although a few metals are found free or in a native state, the majority have to be extracted from the ores, a process deemed as metallurgy. Now we know that metals, yeah, of course there is a possibility that the metals are available in free state. That means it is not in a combined state, it is in a free state or in native state, but maximum of them, most of them are always going to be in a condition where you need to be extracting the metals by using some process. Okay, it is not possible कि okay मुझे मालूम है कि okay यहाँ पे gold का ये है. Now we know that gold doesn't get reacting with anything, and that's why the oxide of gold और कुछ तो मिलने वाला नहीं है. So you are going to get pure gold, but it is not that okay dig किया पूरा का पूरा gold मिल गया. ऐसा नहीं होने वाला. There will be some or the other process required for the extraction of the metal from that particular metallic ore. So that's why it this process of the extraction of the metal is called as metallurgy. So this is the basic idea of metallurgy, that the process of extracting the metals is called from its ore is called as metallurgy. So initially, before we start this thing, we need to understand the basic terms metals and non-metals. So let's understand the terms metals and non-metals, and mainly let us try to we can say that differentiate between metals and non-metals. So metal, an element which ionizes by electron loss, loses one or more electrons when supplied with energy, and is thus an electron donor. So what is the main specific properties of a metal? The first thing is that it is going to get ionized by losing its electrons. All the metals will have the tendency to lose electrons because they will be having 1, 2 or 3 electrons in the outermost shell. So accordingly, what will happen is that they are going to lose their electrons to become a positively charged ions. So the formation of the ions of the metals is going to take place by the loss of electrons. And this loss of electron, one or more electrons, when they are going to lose it, when they are supplied with energy. So when they are supplied with some amount of energy, they are going to lose certain amount of electrons. And finally, what is going to happen is they thus become electron donors, because they are going to give away their electrons to other people, to other elements. That's why they are called as electron donors. On the other hand, what is non-metal? So non-metal is a metal which ionizes by electron gaining. It is the non-metal. Non-metal has the electrons which will be 4, 5, 6 or 7 in the outermost orbit. So because it is 4, 5, 6, 7, it is going to accept 1, 2 or 3 electrons in the outermost shell. And because they are accepting electrons, that's why they are going to become a negatively charged ion. So the elements in the non-metals are those elements which are going to ionize by accepting the electrons or electron gain, and the gain is again going to take place by when the energy is supplied to it. So one or more electrons when supplied with energy, the gain is going to take place when one or more electrons when supplied with energy, and thus they are electron acceptors. So the non-metals are electron acceptors. Metallic atoms have 1, 2 or 3 valence electrons and tend to form positive ions, cations on ionizing an electrovalent compound. So non-metals will be having 1, 2 or 3 electrons in the outermost shell, and that's why they are going to be giving away in the form of the electrons and form positive ions, cations on ionization, and also they are going to form electrovalent compounds. Whereas non-metals, which will be having 4, 5 or 6 or 7 electrons in the outermost shell, and they tend to form negative ions on ionization, and electrovalent or covalent, both kinds of compounds can be formed by a non-metal. Non-metal can form a electrovalent compound with a metal, whereas it can form a covalent compound with another non-metal which is there. Valency of the metal is the number of electrons lost per atom, that is K minus 1 electron is K plus 1. K has valency 1, univalent. Mg has valency 2. Al has valency 3, very silly, so I am not discussing much. Similarly, in valency of the non-metals will be going to be due to the gain of electrons, so it will be Cl plus 1 electron will be Cl1 minus. The valency is 1, that is univalent. Sulfur is valency 2, divalent, and nitrogen is valency 3, trivalent. Now we see about the properties of metals and non-metals. Very, very important, not because the properties are important. The point is that in this particular part, you will have certain exceptions. Each and every property जो भी है उसमें there may be some exceptions, and these exceptions become a very important part for your what we call it as fill in the blanks or the objective kind of questions that could be asked. So that's why name the following, that will be the one which is important. So we have properties of metals. Lustrous. What is lustrous? Can be polished. So it is a polished thing, lustrous. It has a shine, it has a gloss. Okay, so it is lustrous and exists in solid state. Exception is mercury. So mercury is lustrous, but it is not in solid state. So all metals normally they are solid in nature, but the one which is liquid is mercury. Non-metals, non-lustrous, but there is exception that graphite and iodine, they both are lustrous and exist in liquid, gaseous and or brittle state. So it can be in a liquid state, gaseous state or in solid state, but it will be brittle in nature. So that is the non-lustrous kind. But exception over here is graphite and iodine. Graphite is solid also and it is brittle, so that is why it was given over there as brittle. So property wise, non-lustrous. Metals, the melting and the boiling point is high. The melting point and boiling point of metals is high, and except for sodium, potassium and mercury, where the melting point is quite low. Whereas in case of properties non-metals, melting point and boiling point are low. Exception is carbon and silicon, where it is high. Density wise, again the metals have a high density except for sodium, potassium and calcium, where the density is slightly lower. Whereas in case of non-metals, the density is low except for diamond. Ductility, the property of metals is ductility. What is ductility? It is the one property of a metal to draw into wires. Okay, I can draw it into wires. So that is ductility, and it is normally high in case of metals. But so can we draw it into wires? But exception is zinc and mercury. Mercury anyways cannot be done because it is a liquid, whereas zinc is the one which is not ductile, so it cannot draw into wires. जैसे हम लोग खींचने जाएंगे तो टूट जाएगा, तो इसीलिए वो वायर फॉर्म में बन नहीं सकता. So you cannot have zinc wire. Okay. Where ductility in case of the non-metals is low, and exception is carbon fiber. You can have wires made up of carbon fiber. Malleability. Malleability is to hammer the part of the metal and make it into sheets, thin sheets. So that is can be easily beaten into sheets. That is malleability. And again, most of the solids are made of metals are malleable. Exception is zinc again. So zinc is ductile भी नहीं है और malleable भी नहीं है. Whereas non-metals में again the non-metals will be non-malleable, but exception again the same as ductility, that is carbon fiber. Conductivity, good conductor of heat and electricity. Metals are good conductor of heat and electricity. All metals, there is no exception at all. All metals are good conductor of heat and electricity. Whereas non-metals are poor or poor conductor of electricity. But exception is graphite. Graphite is a good conductor of electricity. So the only non-metal which is a good conductor of electricity is graphite. Loss valency electrons, loss valence from cations. So Na minus 1 will be minus 1 electron will give you Na plus 1, and it oxidizes. So cation discharge at cathode. At cathode, Na plus 1E becomes Na. So that is what they are given over here, that if you are having the sodium ion is sodium, and that it loses 1 electron, so it becomes sodium ion, that is a sodium positive charge. So when it goes to the cathode, in the electrolysis, when it goes to the cathode से उसको electron मिलेगा and will become Na plus again. So Na once again. Whereas in case of the non-metals, we know that they are going to gain valence electrons, so form anions instead of they will form into negative charge, positive charge ions. That is going to be negative charge ions, that is anions, and Cl plus 1 minus is equals to 1E is equals to Cl1 minus. That is a reduction reaction. So formation of anion is a reduction reaction. Anions discharged at anode except for hydrogen, and so at anode the reaction will be chlorine minus Cl minus 1 minus 1 electron will give you Cl. Metals are good reducing agents. Alkali metals have 1 electron in their outermost shell, and hence during reaction they readily give up the valence electrons, and thus they are strong reducing agents. Whereas of course the non-metals are oxidizing agents. And metals forms electrovalent chlorides, that is NaCl, and forms at least one basic chloride oxide, that is K2O or Na2O or CaO, MgO, CuO, or amphoteric oxides Al2O3, Pb2O3, BbO as NaO. They react with acids and alkali to give you salt and water. Whereas the non-metals form covalent chlorides like PCl3 and forms acidic or neutral oxides, that is acidic oxides CO2, SO2, SO3, NO2, P2O5, or neutral oxides CONO, N2O and H2O. So this was the differentiation between the metals and non-metals. As I told you, normally very rarely they will ask you the differentiation between metals and non-metals because it's quite silly to ask in the 10th standard. But the main thing what is important over here is to identify that what are the exceptions in those particular kind of differentiation. So exceptions, whatever which I have given over here in this particular part, are very important. Now the position of the metals in the periodic table. So we very well know that the metals are to the left hand side of the periodic table, the complete left hand side of the periodic table. The group 1, 2 and 3, 4, they are the ones which are going to be the metals which are going to be the left hand side of the periodic table. So we see that group 1 contains alkali metals. So all the elements of group 1 are called as alkali metals. They are lightweight and they are highly electropositive, that is from lithium to francium. Group 2, that is 2A, that is alkaline earth metals. So alkaline earth metals, again they are light and electropositive elements, and there is from beryllium to radon. The next is from 3 to 12, that is 1B to 7B or 8, that is transition elements, heavy metals, and inner transition elements, that is lanthanides and actinides. So that is from scandium to zinc, and Y is, it should be V not Y, okay, Y, yttrium to cadmium. You don't need to learn this thing, so it doesn't matter. So these are the heavy metals and the inner transition elements, lanthanides and actinides. And finally, the 13 to 16 are again post-transition elements. They are weak electropositive elements. So the weak electropositive elements, the aluminium and titanium and all. So these are the ones which are the weak transition elements. Post-transition elements which are weak electropositive metals. We already studied this in the periodic table, so not a problem. Now we see is about the occurrence of metals. So we know that metals can be, first of all, free or in native state. That is, metals occurring in free metallic form, not acted upon by natural elements like constituting of air and water. For example, gold and platinum. See, gold and platinum, they do not react with any particular compound. So because they are not going to react with even the air or water or any particular thing which is in the soil. So that's the reason gold and platinum are the one which are going to be available to us in free state, what is called as the native state. Okay, native state or free state mein it will be available. Whereas the others will be in combined state. So in the combined state, metals occur in the form of a compounds, that is oxides or carbonates or halides, sulfides or sulfates. So we have got the examples of the different ores which are present. That is, first is bauxite. Bauxite is Al2O3 2H2O. Zinc is ZNO. Hematite is Fe2O3. Cuprite is Cu2O. Carbonates mein it will be siderite, which is FeSO3. Marble CaCO3. Calamine ZnCO3. Magnesite MgCO3. So you can see that oxides जो है उसके अंदर वो bauxite टाइट आ रहा है, whereas carbonates वगैरह जो है उसके अंदर there will be all the carbonates of iron, calcium, zinc and magnesium. Halides, cryolite Na3AlF6, fluorspar CaF2, horn silver AgCl, rock salt NaCl. Sulfides, iron pyrite FeS2, zinc blends ZnS, galena PbS and cinnabar HgS. And finally sulfates is gypsum CaSO4.2H2O, anglesite PbSO4, biarrate BSO4 and Epsom salt MgSO4.7H2O. Now out of these you don't need to learn them at all. You don't need to learn these particular part. The whatever you're going to need to be learned, it will be coming in the chapter in the later part where you are doing the extraction of that metal. So when you are doing the extraction of metal, you know that which are the ores to be taken. So right now this ore is just an example. They have given you that what are the different kinds of ore which will be present, but it has nothing to do with your learning part. You don't need to learn these parts at all. Now let's understand what is better about the minerals and ores. Mineral. The compounds of various metals found in nature associated with their earthly impurities are called minerals. When ore, the naturally occurring mineral from which metals can be extracted profitably and conveniently, are called ores. Now let's understand the main thing. If you see, mineral और ore दोनों एक ही है क्योंकि वो metal जो ground के अंदर तुम्हें मिला, that is the mineral or the ore. No, it is not exactly the same. A mineral is the presence of any particular metal inside the ground, so that ground becomes a mineral. Like for example, if I say that there is a mountain, okay, there is a small mountain or small hill जैसा, or we come to know that that hill contains gold in it, okay, it is a gold mine, so there is some gold in it. So you can see that, okay, it's a mineral of gold. Now, when would that turn into an ore of gold? It's only if extraction of the gold from that particular hill is profitable. See, the extraction process is not going to be like, okay, गए और दो तीन निकाल के लेके आए. It's not going to be that way. Okay, it is not going to be that, okay, it is like वहाँ पे सब पड़ा हुआ है, उसको थोड़ा हिला दिया और खोद दिया और वहाँ से you get the gold का अच्छा एक मस्त gold का shiny बार मिल गया. No, it is not going to be that way. It is that gold will be a part and parcel of the solids, or the, you can say the stone which is there, the hill which is made up of the stones. That stone contains certain percentage of gold in that. So now when you are going to extract the gold from it, if the total quantity of the gold which is there is not so high that or it so happens that while extracting that much amount of gold, the cost of which you are incurring in drawing that gold out of that thing is much more than the normal cost of gold in the market, then there is no point taking out the gold from there. Like if I say that, if suppose we say that 1 kg of gold is going to cost you, let's say 5 crore rupees, and you know that this particular mountain is containing 1 kg of gold, okay, उसका mountain के अंदर एक, just an exception, there's an example over here. So एक mountain है जिसके अंदर 1 kg of gold है. अगर पता चला कि वो गोल्ड को निकालने के लिए, if I am going to dig it out and do the processes, and the processes costed me 7 crore rupees, is it really worth taking out that 1 kg of gold from that particular mountain? No, it is not economical. So in that case, that hill is a mineral of gold but not an ore of gold. A ore of gold will be the one in which the cost of withdrawing that thing is hardly 1 crore, and when it is selling at 5 crores, then okay, then it is worth it. That means it is economically viable and profitable for me to extract the element from that particular ground. Okay, so that's the difference between a mineral and an ore. A mineral means the presence of the metal in that particular soil. Presence of the metal in the particular soil is a mineral. But when that particular presence of the metal in the soil is such that if I extract it, then it is economical and profitable for me to extract it from that soil, then that particular soil becomes a ore. So that's what the difference between a mineral and a ore. So mineral, the compounds of various metals found in nature associated with their earthly impurities are called minerals. The naturally occurring minerals from which metals can be extracted profitably. Okay, that's the thing. You should be able to extract it profitably and conveniently are called ores. So that's why we say that all ores are minerals, but all minerals are not ore. All minerals are not ore, but all ores are minerals. Other terms used in metallurgy is metallurgy itself. The large-scale processes involved in the extraction of pure metal from the respective ores is called as metallurgy. So the complete process, what you are going to do for the extraction of the metal from the ore is called as metallurgy. Matrix, the rocky impurities including silica, that is SiO2, mud, etc. associated with the ore is called the matrix or gangue. So matrix and gangue is the complete, you can say the unwanted part of the ore which is going to be left out, or the impurities which is present in the ore is called as the matrix. Flux, the substance added to the ore to get rid of the matrix, result in the formation of a fusible compound slag. So whatever is the matrix which is there, वो उसको remove करने के लिए we are going to add something so that it sticks to that thing and it gets removed easily. So that particular kind of material which we are using to remove the matrix from the ore is called as flux, and the resultant thing what is going to come out, that is the combination of the flux with the matrix, is going to call as slag. So the common ores of aluminum, zinc and iron, yeah, this is what you need to learn. Bauxite, hydrated aluminum oxide, that is Al2O3.2H2O. Cryolite, sodium aluminum fluoride, Na3AlF6. Corundum, aluminum oxide, Al2O3. Ores of zinc, zinc blends, zinc sulfide, ZNS. Calamine, zinc carbonate, ZnCO3. Zincite, zincite, that is zinc oxide, ZnO. Ores of iron, hematite, main ore, iron 3 oxide, Fe2O3. Magnetite, triiron tetraoxide, Fe3O4. Iron pyrite, iron disulfide, that is FeS2. And spatic iron ore, that is iron 2 carbonate, FeCO3. So that is about the ores and the minerals and the general terms about the metallurgy. Now we go to the next part, that is the extraction of metals. So how do we extract the metals? So that is the processes which are involved in the extraction of metals. We'll start that in the next video.